Journal with me, Alhamdulillah, and of course the brand new year as we stay key to most important national soul of man. Welcome to the show, and of course we've been talking about an extraordinary book, of course, written in 1958 by one of Africa's greatest writers, of course, Chinua Achebe, and of course we're talking about Things Fall Apart, and today we'll be rounding up the course of Things Fall Apart, and of course as usual I'm not alone here. I am here with Amina Idris, whom we've been discussing this book alongside me. Welcome to the show, Amina.
Thank you for having me.
So good to have you as usual. So please, take us through as an overview. Well, we've discussed basically a lot about Things Fall Apart, and of course it contains a lot of things, a lot of things having to do with culture, having to do with belief, strength, weakness, a lot of things circumnavigating around Things Fall Apart. Can you just take us through an overview of that, please?
Alright, so thank you very much. Things Fall Apart, written by Chinua Achebe and published in 1958, tells the story of Okonkwo, a respected leader and a warrior in the Igbo community of Umuahia in Nigeria. The novel explores the complexities of Igbo culture, the impacts of colonialism, and the clash between traditional and African society, and the traditional African society and the European influences. It follows Okonkwo's struggle to maintain his status and identity in the face of trial, personal and societal changes, ultimately leading to his tragic downfall.
All right. Well, we've seen a lot of things to learn and a lot of things to but to you basically, let me just kind of ask you this as a personal question. What is that basic thing you feel you've learned, you got to grasp in the context of Things Fall Apart in general?
Okay, I wouldn't say I've learned something. I would say, yeah, I've learned something, but then the book exposed me to a lot of things. I love how Achebe is able to digress or explore the African society and the European society, the clash, like I said earlier, the clash between the African and the European society. I love how it has been able to explore the African society before colonialism, during colonialism, and a bit after colonialism. I love how it's, although many African books have been able to do that, but Achebe, focusing on the Igbo culture, it's a plus for him. As an Igbo person, if you read this, you agree more and feel more of what the Igbo culture has been or was before the coming of the colonizers.
Okay, but basically, I believe that there is this certain impact every kind of literature makes in the society, and it's one thing or the other the literature aims to achieve, regardless of whether it's a novel, whether it's philosophy, or whatever genre of book it is. Do you feel at your end that Things Fall Apart has really had an impact and has achieved what it wanted to achieve in general, like seeing how it is now in our societies and comparison to how it was, and the message that was trying to be passed by Chinua Achebe through that book? Do you feel it has achieved that purpose?
Alright, so I would say aside clash of culture, another recurrent theme in the book is masculinity. Okonkwo was striving so hard to not be like his father. I think maybe I would say that's what I've learned in the book, because he learned that Okonkwo in the book is trying to be too ambitious, to be too ambiguous, anyhow you can put it. So, and it led to its downfall. At the end of the story, you see that he did not really achieve what he wanted to achieve because he was too uptight, he was too close up. So I would say, if you really want to live, no matter how successful you want to be, you mustn't all work without play. Makes Okonkwo a failure.
Okay.
So yeah,
I think make Jack.
it's make Okonkwo a failure. So I think in everything you do in this life, try to relax a bit. No matter how successful you want to become, you should relax at some points.
All right. Well, Okonkwo, of course, has been the story basically from start to finish. Well, one thing is to be portrayed by him, directly. What is that basic thing you feel Okonkwo was meant to portray in These Things Fall Apart? What was that message he was meant to pass? Was he meant to pass the message of you not giving up, or you kind of not looking down on yourself, or you carving yourself to be the basic of your own, future or whatever you aspire? Is that what actually Okonkwo feel has been, portrayed to send out as a message to people who read this book?
I think the character of Okonkwo can be said to be many things. Number one, he tried not to be like his father, Unoka, who was a drunkard, who was a failure according to him. Number two, he was described in the book to be someone that looks down on other people, because maybe if they are not up to his standard, he'll be like, oh, you are not up to my standard, you've not achieved what I've achieved. That's another of his character. Then again, I think he's described to be the person that majorly stood for the Igbo culture in the book, because when these colonizers came, he was the only one that was so adamant in accepting this new culture. So he stood for so many things, and yeah, he portrayed so many things.
All right, well, culminating and correlating, his character in general, and of course how the whole, attitude was for Okonkwo. Let me just swap that away and just bring in, this basically to, get to understand, for our viewers to get to understand something relative to the book that we're talking about. I'm trying to talk about not just temper, but, concern, you understand, and flexibility. Do you feel people need to be flexible in accepting change?
Yes, I don't feel people need to be flexible in accepting change. That's why I said if you want to be successful in everything you do, whether it's in accepting other people's culture, you need to be a bit flexible. If you are too uptight, nothing works. Nothing works for someone that's too uptight, that look down on people because they are not up to your standard, that don't even even your own family, as portrayed in the book. Okonkwo was not even relating with his own wives, with his children, because he was aiming at that success. He did all he could never to be like his father, who he termed a failure because maybe he plays or he drinks and all that. So yeah, in accepting change, you need to be a bit flexible. You need to give yourself the time to process it. You need to just follow the process and trust it, and just be just go just go with the flow. You mustn't just put yourself to the space like Okonkwo did in the book, and as we all know, it lets it downfall, and that's not a good thing at all.
Okay, you talked about allowing flexibility, of course, directly, but what if it kind of have contrasts to what you kind of sort of believe, or, in terms of culture or religious wise? Because I feel Okonkwo had a big problem with that.
Okay, big problem with what?
With how it affected the change that was supposed to come in, what if it affects your beliefs? For example, should you just, still accept it like that, even though it kind of wants to do away with, some of your cultural beliefs, some of maybe your religious beliefs, and something you have stood on for a long time, and then you just get somebody coming in and saying, hey, this is a new way of life, we want you to, portray something like this, just like that.
In regards to the new culture.
Exactly, in regards to new culture. So as a person, as an individual, you talked about flexibility. Flexibility is good, yes, I suppose, but what if that flexibility will affect your kind of belief?
But Okonkwo in the book went to an essence of killing a member of his clan because of this particular issue. I think he did not bring himself to discuss with the people of his own clan. He was against his clan. He was against the white people. So how do you want to succeed when even we are not united with your own people? How will you succeed in such a situation? I feel he should have calmed down a bit to the level of his people, his clan, and maybe they talk together. Although at some point the Igbo people were trying to accept this new culture, but then Okonkwo was so adamant in not accepting. And what led to him killing a member of the clan? I think that's where he was exiled from the village for, was it like 4 years or how many years? 8 years, I guess. So I think, although he tried, I'll commend him for that, but he did way too much. Yes.
Just for the last part before I give this overview, what is that single thing you will want to tell our listeners concerning Things Fall Apart? What's that thing, that one thing you want to tell our listeners in regards to, the overall Things Fall Apart as itself, as we round it up?
Okay, Things Fall Apart is not a new book. Most of us must have read the book by now. So I feel like when you're reading Things Fall Apart, you should give yourself the room. You should welcome the ideas that are going to be brought to you in the book. Although the book it revolves around the African society, the Igbo society to be specific. So when you're reading the book, it talks about colonialism, it talks about masculinity, it talks about the societal changes and all that, and you should be able to welcome all this when you are reading the book.
All right. Well, importantly, you need to welcome all these criteria or characterizations, of course. It's all about being flexible and accepting things, and then that's how we can make a change within our societies, by the way. And of course, I can tell this is why we got where we are today, than what we call modernization. So I'll just read some few overview, of course, from the Things Fall Apart, what it actually portrays, what it thought, the kind of things it touches in terms of culture, plot, objectivity, and so on. So when it talked about culture, the book actually provides a detailed look at Igbo culture, just as you've said rightfully, Amina, including its traditions, festivals, weddings, and of course funerals. It also highlights the importance of ancestors in society and the use of proverbs as well, idioms and storytelling to express ideas. This is one big thing that is being expressed in the whole of Things Fall Apart. Now, talking about the plot, the story of a Konko, a proud and respected Igbo man, is engaging and complex at the same time, of course. The book follows a Konko as he struggles to come to terms with the arrival of missionaries and the spread of Christianity in his community. And talking of objectivity, of course, the book talked about objectivity, touches objectivity. Achebe is able to provide an objective account of both the African and the missionary cultures, respectively, while still engaging the readers in personal story. Themes also being touched in the book include the book which explores the themes of colonization, the clash of cultures, and the effects of religious colonization. And finally, we talk about the reception in which the book culminates, which was an immediate success with positive reviews, by the way, from the Times Literary Supplement, Time and Tide, and The Observer reception. This is so much a great book, of course, those we have read from here. A lot of reviews, in fact, it has been translated into so many languages, French,
yes,
Italian, Greek, and so many languages. One of the most incredible African literatures ever written. Yeah, because that's what I guess all around the world when you go, Things Fall Apart, it's not unlike some of our, generation, current generation, that, I would tell, find it hard and difficult to read. But, during those days, virtually everybody around the world, reads, and no phones, no televisions, no things, no social media to take your mind away, and all that. So you kind of find yourself reading. So Things Fall Apart was a household name, basically, at the moment it came out. I usually kind of give it the same regard that has been given to, some big European literatures, written by top European writers around the world. And it's really, tell of how, our writers in Africa really have that intellectual match with virtually any other kind of writer around the world. Just all about the position, all about, the craft and the art of writing. And so this is Things Fall Apart. I've been discussing, of course, through the course of last year, and of course we'll be rounding it up today. And of course it's been an interesting book, by the way, and of course, as usual, is always interesting talking about books, by the way. One of the major importance of this program is to inculcate the habit of reading, how important reading is. When you say much, that's because you have much to say in your mind, and you get a lot more when you read your books. So we will be rounding it up here for today, and of course we will be getting in for another new kind of book, of course, a new genre, by next week as we continue with the book journal. And I want to use these minutes to thank you, Amina, for always being on the show with me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, well, as usual, don't forget, reading is very beneficial. You should apply liberally early, leave a review to say thanks, and don't forget, you should read so that you can get information that will give you ideas so it will help you change the world. From here, I'm Dolores and the rest of the team is bye for now.